Hi, Angela Wolf here, founder of Angela Wolf Patterns and Online Academy. And we are still on location, so welcome to my studio. All right, in this lesson I'm going to show you how to sew a two-piece sleeve, insert it into the jacket, and add a sleeve head, which allows it to have this nice curve over the shoulder. So let's take a look at the pattern. Here's the sleeve, a two-piece sleeve. You can see this one has a vent. Now, I'm going to line this jacket, so you can see a lot of frayed edges here. If you're going to have an unlined jacket, the first thing you need to do is serge all those edges. But for now, this is how I'm going to have it. Before I remove the pattern though, the first thing I do is do a little snip to notch the bottom. This will be your underarm seam, and a notch at the shoulder. This will help guide your sleeve when you're sewing it into the arm's eye. All right. So you can see on the back side of my sleeve, I've already attached the interfacing. Interfacing usually goes in the hem and vent area here. And also this, you put it up in the underarm and up in the shoulder. This prevents your fabric from stretching. So this is somewhat of a plaid. So when I go to sew this, I'm going to just give myself a couple pins to show that this lines up. I chose a fabric like this because I thought it's a little more challenging, and just to show you how I line mine up. I'll put a few pins just to make sure that all of this plaid, it's kind of like a stripe actually. And you can see I'm just putting pins along an area that matches the other side. So this matches this. I'll put a pin. Just gives me a guide. All right, so that's one side. So I will sew from here to here on one side of the sleeve. And while I'm at the machine, I'm going to walk this over. The move it foot or the walking foot is a great way to sew when you have a pinstripe or a plaid, because it'll walk that fabric for you. You don't have to worry about anything not lining up just right. All right, so here's my vent. I'm going to stitch from here all the way up. I'll actually start at this end and come down, but you'll sew all the way to here and then out. This will remain open for now. All right, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm using contrasting threads so you can see, and I have my stitch length set at a 3.0 because this is a little bit of a thicker fabric. I'll start at the top, just do a little back stitch, and as I get to each pin, I'll just remove them as I go. And if I hold the fabric at each pin mark, then I know the fabric's feeding at the same time. All the way to the end. And use whatever seam allowance is on your pattern. My pattern is a 1/2 inch, so I'm just sewing just on the inside edge here and all the way to the hem. Back stitch. And you can see the first seam. You really can't see it in the nubby area, but you can definitely see it in the white. Okay, now let's go to this side. Flip your sleeve over. The most important part of sewing a sleeve is actually in pressing, which you'll see here in just a second. All right, we're getting down to where the sleeve vent is. I'm going to go just a little bit further. And then stitch to the end. All right. And while I'm here, one more thing that I do is I'm going to stitch with a basting stitch just along the sleeve head. It's like doing two things at the same time, even though they're going to be for different things. So change your stitch length to a 5.0, which is a basting stitch. And you're going to just right along the edge of the sleeve up here. And don't use your automatic cut feature. You'll want to give yourself a long thread tail. And you're going to do that twice. So you'll stitch one second line right inside of there. I don't think you need to watch me sew it. So let's go back to the pressing table. All right, so here's our sleeve, and this is what you call a sleeve board. Mine's well worn, so excuse if it's a little bit discolored. All right, give it a little steam. I'm pressing my seam allowance open. And you'll do that on both sides. Little steam. And you're going to press this open all the way to the edge of your sleeve placket here. All right, so now once you get to this section, you need to figure out which way your sleeve vent is going to go. So for this sleeve, I always put it right side out to make sure I don't do it backwards. So it looks like this is my right arm. So when I slide this on here, I know that this part is going to turn in. I always press this before I start sewing my sleeve vents to make sure they match. Otherwise, you can accidentally put this the wrong way and it'll look very funny on your arm. Your sleeve vents will be going the wrong direction. All right, there we go. So my sleeve is sewn together now. I'm going to put this one to the side because I have this one here. And you can see I've already stitched 2 rows of basting stitches. And I'm going to bring out my tailor's ham. Like I mentioned, the main part of sleeves is pressing. So just slide this up. And you're going to just give this a little pull. And this will gather your sleeve head. Slide this on. And you're going to use a lot of steam here. The steam will actually shrink that sleeve cap to make it a lot easier to sew it into your jacket. Okay, and now I have a jacket right here, a part of a jacket to show you how this will go in. So I usually start with the underarm. I'm just going to flip this around so you can see the sleeve here and you can see the sleeve notch. That's going to match to your underarm. Now, there's certain parts of the sleeve that you're going to ease to the jacket and certain parts that you're not. So for the whole underarm area, the fabric and the sleeve should be 1-to-1. There should not be any gapping of either way in here. This should all be equal. And then on this side, the same thing. Right here, 1-to-1. Now, when you get into the sleeve cap area, this is the part that is a little tricky, and as long as you can pin it a little bit, even if you have to press it a little bit more this will shrink a little bit, I will find my shoulder notch and line that up here. And when I'm sewing, I sew with the sleeve side down, and I actually leave the sleeve seam allowance sticking out just a little bit. So you can see I've pressed this into place, so now the stitch line has shrunk enough to fit right into that arm's eye. So you're going to be easing the sleeve into the arm's eye, except for the top 1-inch area. That should be 1-to-1 again. That will help prevent puckers on your sleeve. And then again, this side here. So I might have to pull up just a little bit more. There we go. And I'm just going to stitch this section here and then show you how to do a sleeve head. So I'll see you at the sewing machine. All right, I'm changing back to a straight stitch. And I'm just going to slide this under. Try to keep my hand out of the way so you can see. And I'm just going to stitch a portion of this so you can see what it looks like. And so you're easing the sleeve into the arm's eye. So the sleeve head actually has more fabric. See how nice that looks? It eased right into there, and it gives you that nice curve. So just real quick, on this sleeve here, Same thing. It looks very nice here. And then a sleeve head is what you pop into the top to give it that nice look. This is a sleeve head. It usually measures from just in the top section of your sleeve. This is about 3 inches wide. You fold it in half, and you'll hand stitch that right in place. You just hand tack it right along your seam. And when you do that, I'll just stick a pin in there right now. When you do that, this flips to the right side, and it gives it that nice curve over your shoulder. And that's how easy it is to sew a 2-piece sleeve, insert it into the jacket, and create that nice curve over your shoulder.